Fun series, guys. A big one. Lambo is obviously the man with the accomplishments and perhaps historically the more successful player. But I think we've all been impressed by Trigger over the last 6 months. Clearly, he has taken a lot of steps forward in his career. Recently qualified, or even this morning qualified for Masters Coliseum. Took out Australia in the final round, so we'll see him in that big online tournament as well. And perhaps we are 3 weeks away from crowning him as the champion of WTL Codas. That will be happening on the 13th of August. That's really a day that you guys right now should put it in your calendar, in your agenda. The 13th of August is the final day of WTL Codas. Now, obviously, we are looking forward to Gamers 8, and that's going to be, hopefully, a legendary week of StarCraft. But as soon as Gamers 8 is over, we continue, and the WTL playoffs are around the corner, and that's going to be really exciting. Basilisk will be playing at least one, but hopefully 2 matches. Because we need to play 2 games if we want to crown ourselves champions. That is then. This is now. Let's go ahead and enjoy. What time is that played? Probably starts around 1 or 2 p.m. If they stick to the regular schedule, I would say 2 p.m. Central European time. So what is that? 8 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 a.m. on the West Coast. On the 13th of August, give or take. Anyway, Neo Humanity is going to be our first battleground. Main event of the Big Brain Bouts, number 35. Back on our channel. Let's do it.
Let's get it on. Round 1. Fight.
In the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the man who recently had a stream title that said he is playing with his old mouse again. Are we going back to that Raisin Naga or not? Shopify, Rebellions, Lambo. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of our Canadian Protoss representing Basilisk. It's the man who's been on fire. It's Trigger. In the past, Trigger often was like the third match of the evening, you know, co-main event kind of guy. But I think at this point, he is good enough that he is a main event player. Has made so much progress in his play. I would say in all 3 matchups, but maybe the one that's still holding him back a little bit is PvZ. I think PvT, we know he's incredibly good. PvP, he's obviously very good as well, especially if he has server advantage. Often even takes out MaxPax in NA weeklies and whatnot. Maybe not often, but recently did, and at least makes him sweat. PvZ, I think, is the most difficult one for him out of the 3. But he has known for a couple days that he had to play Lambo. Let's see if he can do it. Lambo is a risky player to invite in a ZVP show match. Because we all know that if Lambo is out for blood, we're going to see 3 games of a lot of Roaches, Ravages, and Queens running to the other side of the map, around 60 drones. Sometimes 55 or 66 or 61. And games can end. Even in the past, whoever was at that time considered to be the best Protoss player on the planet has fallen to Lambo. Think of Trap in his glory days, where Trap would defeat some of the best Zergs in the world, but then he would play against Lambo and he would die to the Queen Walks of Lambo. Because that's just something that Lambo is incredibly freaking good at. But I don't know if Lambo wants to do that kind of stuff here tonight. Maybe he also just wants to test his hive play and just have a fun series. We will see. Not gonna do that, Neat Pete. That's not going to happen. Are all the games in Europe? No, we're gonna server switch. Game 1 Europe, Game 2 NA, Game 3 Europe, Game 4 if we get there, and hopefully we do NA. And if we get to a Game 5, we're gonna do a coin flip live on stream. I think he did hear me, Yaha. That man is a bit of a troll. I've got my eyes on him. First, Adept is going to shade into the main base. Lambo obviously wants to make sure he doesn't lose any drones here. Might lose one, though. Yep, does lose one. That's a good start. Can he get... Ooh. For a split second, I thought there was no room for the second drone to become a Spore Crawler. The slow links, though, are going to get this Adept, because obviously link speed is about to kick in as well. So it's an Adept for 2 Zerglings and a drone. It's acceptable. Trigger's gonna warp in the Nexus very early. Lambo doesn't really have a crazy amount of links. 6 links I think is enough to kill this Adept. Now the Oracle's about to show up, but not in time to save the Adept. So that's nice for Lambo, because if you Trigger right now, you don't really want to send this Oracle to the other side of the map until you have another Adept to protect your pylon. You don't want to randomly lose a pylon. So this is actually a nice little victory for Lambo. Now we have the Adept showing up, the third one. Trigger may be a tiny bit concerned that additional links are going to show up. We know that's not the case, but as a Protoss player, you cannot always be certain of what's happening on the other side of the map. At this point, I think Trigger will know that, okay, he sees extra links. That could scare him, needs to be very careful. We cannot lose an Oracle against a Zerg like Lambo. He's going to warp in an Adept to make sure that the links don't run into the natural, and we'll take it from there. Spore Crawler count only at 1 at the moment. Second Spore Crawler just got warped in. Lambo Galaxy Brain. Lambo has been coaching Reynor, guys. That is a thing. They've been pretty open about it. Lambo is once more the official coach of Reynor entering Game is 8. Lambo did not qualify for the event. Reynor did. Lambo once upon a time also was Reynor's coach. That was IEM Katowice in the pandemic. And Reynor won the entire tournament. Links are free anyways. 1 or 2, yes. 6, 8, 10, probably no. Pretty quick Robo Bay on the side of Trigger. We have a Twilight Council, but we haven't used it yet. It's kind of weird, no? Why are we not using our Twilight? Why do we have a War Prism now? And a Dark Stone? What is this? I'm so confused. Trigger is doing everything. A Stargate, a Robo, a Dark Shrine, a Robo Bay. Warping in a couple Stalkers now. Thank you, Katura. Make sure to show love to Basilisk, mate, because as much as I enjoy doing this for you guys every single Friday, I obviously could not do it without Basilisk. They are the ones providing the prize money, and they are the ones to make sure that the pro gamers show up. Because even though I get along with almost all of the guys, if I ask them to play for free, they'll probably say, fuck you, Roddy. But when Basilisk is like, hey, $500 every single Friday, now that makes them show up. And that makes them do their best. So I do my best, but I could not do it without the support of my orc. And I hope you guys want to show them some love. As we have a Revelation going down in the main. It's a pretty quick infestation pit. Could we look at Swarm Host here, guys? Is there a chance we're going to play Roaches and Swarm Host? Kind of want to say I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, we know that quick hives are in the meta. But this would be unusually quick. Lambo on 76 drones is building a lot of roaches. +1 missile attacks is on the way. At this point, Trigger's army is not too impressive. Lambo, no, drops the Hydra then and the Hive. Okay. No Swarm Host. It is indeed a pretty good Swarm Host map as well. That's why I was bringing it up and thinking about it. But nope, that's not what it's going to be. This is going to be a very casual 8-minute Hive. And I guess we're going to rush into some lurkers. The creep is making some pretty good progress for Lambo. And Trigger's army right now is not the ideal army to clean up creep. And if you want to get anything done with a War Prism and Disruptors inside of it, it's unlikely that's going to happen if the entire map is purple and Lambo can keep track of this Prism. Maybe we can unload at this. I don't know if you can unload a Disruptor here, mate. That's too much. The lurker then goes down as well. We're kind of waiting for the first big impactful moment. So far it's been honestly just keeping an eye on each other. Nobody has really found sincere damage. Most of the time we favor the Zerg. This time around Trigger means business. Keeps the Oracle alive. I want to say that's pretty useful. Just to drop a few more stasis traps. Warped in a couple of DTs on his own side of the map. DTs can maybe get a cancel on this hatchery. That would be somewhat sweet. Couple Hydras are in the mix as well. And the first Oracle dies immediately. The second one gets picked off as well. The DTs are going to run into the triangle base. Lambo is very quick to respond. Pulls the drones immediately to reduce the surface area of these DTs. And in the end, it's only 4 drones that die. So I would say that this went overall pretty good for Lambo. Because Trigger also lost the Oracles. Lambo's got a lot of money. He's got Vipers on the way. Nova flies forward, settles for drones and the queens. Obviously, you need 2 Purification Novas to kill a queen. I guess the Stalkers were able to get the slam dunk after the Disruptor did all the hard work. Even though Lambo's Hive was ultra quick, I feel like the Lurkers are not as quick as I was worried about. Trigger is the one who's down in army supply, but he feels pretty confident in his Blinkstalk army here. That Nova has potential, gets a pretty decent connection. Honestly thought it was going to be bigger, but Lambo did some good crisis management there. Very awkward fight. Oh, that Nova, oh my goodness, that's about as good as they're going to get. So a lot of roaches falling, but now the Vipers are here and Trigger maybe needs to slow down. We have a Templar Archives, so you can warp in High Templars for feedback. I would not hate a second Robo or even a third Robo in a game like this. If this is the army that you're playing against, you know, why not, right? Trigger's got a pretty damn good 4 base Protoss economy. We're gonna take these gases. I would love some more Robos here. Immortal's great. Disrupt is great. Even Colossus, I would say pretty great. Observer's great. War Prism's great. Everything's great about the Robo. Double kill on the Lurkers there, so that's obviously pretty good. Can we land some feedbacks? Lambo has lost 1100 resources more so far than Trigger, who's also getting Storm. I don't know if I really love Storm here. There's a couple of Hydra, Sniper, Warp Prism on the left side, but the Zealots did get warped in. More Novas flying forward. The feedback lands as well on one of the Vipers. Some of these Protoss units get abducted too. I love everything that Trigger has done, but I would love to see more Robos and maybe make sure that you stay on top of upgrades. Get +3, get a second Forge. I think single Robo is so stubborn. I don't get that. This is where we need Chat Protoss Zest. Zest would have 4 Robos by now. Build 4 Disruptors at a time and it would look like the Zerg is completely hopeless. We all need to go a little full Zest every now and then. Somehow Lurker dies there. Vipers are going to show up, land a couple of abducts, a few more Novas fly forward, another Lurker dies. It's just so painful to lose these Disruptors when you only have one Robo. It takes so long to rebuild them. Well, we often said that Zest is best. I think the main reason why Zest is best is because he can make Protoss look pretty simple. Do we have an Observer? I don't know. Where is that Observer? Where's the Observer? Oh my god, it's in the center. No! We are walking over 4 Lurkers. We've got no detection. We do fire a couple of Novas. 2 out of 4 Lurkers die. But these Lurkers did an insane amount of damage and are still doing a lot of damage. Because we have no... One more reason why... Oh my god, and he lost the last Observer now to this army in the center of the map that had Hydras and Overseers. We have no detection. Okay, we've rebuilt an Oracle, but why? Like, you get Observer speed here, man. I don't get that, really, guys. We are 188 supply. We've got 1600 gas in the bank. Maybe kill the rocks? Fire Nova. Trigger has a lot of army supply, but I think it's a little bit deceiving. Unless the Novas land, then the army is pretty real. Changelings are annoying. Trigger said F that pylon in particular, and he kills his own pylon. Not sure what that was all about. We still have no Observer. We have an Oracle, drops a Revelation. There's a big army of Trigger in the top right side. It's okay, cool. I don't know, guys. Trigger is gonna try to get a good fight here, coming in from the top left and the right side at the same time. That army is still just chilling in the center of the map now, making its way over to that hatchery. The Archons are doing whatever they can to tank, but I just kind of feel that this Protoss army is not quite good enough. The Roaches, Hydras and the Lurkers are making their way through, and now this army is gonna show up. And it's obviously annoying for Lambo, but he can deal with this eventually. The reinforcements are gonna clean this up, and Trigger will be forced to tap out, I think, in the near future. I just don't get it. Sometimes keeping StarCraft simple is the best way to get a W. Trigger had a good economy. I think had a very good grasp on the game. Knew what was up, knew what he had to do to win, but with single Robo it's so freaking difficult. These High Templars are gonna get picked off. We did have Storm, but I don't think Storm's really had much of an impact in this game. And obviously at this point it's just simply a little bit too late. Abduct is going to land on the Immortal and GG gets called. After 13 minutes and 40 seconds, it's Lambo who takes the 1-0 lead. In a game where, for a while, I felt like it was very even. It was competitive. It's just Trigger makes life very hard on himself by staying on a single Robo there. And also, I think Observer speed is just a must upgrade. If you play late game PvP, right, and DTs have Shadow Strike, you want to get Observer speed. If you play against a Zerg that has a whole bunch of Lurkers, I think having Observer speed is so freaking nice. Sure, sometimes they fly ahead of your army and they die, you know. We've all been there. But then you can always have an observer or two in surveillance mode somewhere. And if you ever lose in crucial ops, you can immediately bring it over. It takes 2 seconds with observer speed. It's rough because we definitely had the money for that stuff. There was enough income for a second or a third robo even. And there was definitely enough income for some of these either war prism speed, but definitely observer speed as well. Both players are very eager to host game 2 on altitude. I don't even think it was really the macro slipping behind. It more feels like that's a choice by Trigger. I just don't think it's the right choice, but it seems that that's just his personal choice of how he wants to play. He wants to double down on the mobility of gateway units and not be too stuck on his like more slow and immobile robo army. I don't know. It is what it is. That game was of course played on the European server. Game 2 is on the American server. If we want a close, competitive, and fun main event that potentially goes to distance, I think this is kind of a must-win map for our Canadian Protoss Trigger, as he has picked altitude. Let's do it.
Round 2, fight!
Top right side of altitude, we are looking at the main base of our Canadian Protoss, qualified for the Masters Coliseum and is perhaps 3 weeks away from becoming a StarCraft 2 champion. Another tiny tournament, but a big one. Can we do it in the WTL Code S on the 13th of August? We'll know. For now, this is Basilisk Trigger. You can also become a champion tomorrow night, guys, by winning the Platinum Heroes Eagles Open. If you can take out Hate Me. But that's slightly smaller than the WTL Code S. In the bottom left side, we are looking at the main base of the man who will not be playing in Gamers 8. And unfortunately, his team is also not qualified for the playoffs of WTL Code S. So it's a bit of a chill period for him. But he is once more taking on the role of the coach of Reynor. It's Coach Shopify Rebellion Lambo. Single Forge Gateway Army kind of sucks. Yeah, that's... I mean... I don't know. It's hard for me to really make statements like that because Trigger's obviously very good. He gets a lot of practice with it. I feel like he knows what he's doing. And I think he does a lot of things correctly. But I'm also personally not the biggest fan of that playstyle. But it's still up to him, right? And I'm sure that he does it for certain reasons that I am quite unaware of. So I think he got himself in a good spot. And getting yourself in a playable spot against a man like Lambo is already very difficult. Because we have... I'm pretty sure everyone that has seen a lot of StarCraft over the years has seen countless of games of Lambo's EVP, you're excited, first attack, and it's over. And nothing happens. Because that's just how good and deadly Lambo can be in this matchup. So for Trigger to get himself in the 4-base setup, close to maxed out, 80 plus probes, money in the bank, that is very good. It's just a shame that we then don't make, what I like to think is a couple of the easy choices to close it out. But well, to each their own. Let's see what he has in store for us here in game 2. Hello, Sap. I wish good luck to Lewis this weekend, mate. I do really hope that Lewis wins the race this year. I hope it for you. I hope it for Jeremy. I hope it for Slowly. But I don't think it's going to happen this weekend. Maybe later in the year. I think at the moment, Max is on a bit of a roll. And he's being a bit greedy. And even though he often says he doesn't care about records, I think he really wants to break that record of Vettel of winning 9 races in a row. I think last year he already had the chance to do that, but then he obviously got screwed over in Singapore qualifying, and then in the race he just couldn't win that race. I think he really wants to get it this year. You can only lead a Protoss to water, you can make him drink. Trigger does not need any help, mate, with drinking or playing Protoss. Because I play a couple games against Lambo as well every now and then if the ladder is really dead. And I like to think I'm pretty good in PvZ, but if I play against Lambo, it's just you blink twice and he's maxed out and he's at your front door. And you're like, well, that was not fun. So, Trigger clearly does a lot of very difficult things correctly. But it's... yeah, we'll see. I mean, it was the first game, guys. It was a close game. Let's see what we can do here in game 2. Sometimes Lambo can drop the ball a little bit in the early game. These 2 adepts, not ultra successful. 2 drones. 6 links. Now it's all about that Oracle, guys. Does Lambo see it? Does Lambo see it? If the queens are not here yet, this Oracle can dive in and go for a couple drones. Well, 2 extra workers is not too shabby. I was really there. I wanted one more. That's not going to happen. Links on the other side of the map should not get a cancel on the Nexus. Oracle is now looking for a larva or a drone. One more. Uno mas. Can we get another one? No, out of energy. That's okay. 5 drones for 2 adepts is pretty good. That's absolutely something that a Protoss player can work with, and we just take it from here. How do you blink twice? Like the back-to-back blink, you know, like Or when you get older, you really focus on your screen and you don't blink a whole lot. So, it's like a minute between your blinks, and then you blink twice. And then Lambo's there, maxed out, roaches and ravages. 2 more, I want to say, somewhat random adepts have made it to the other side of the map. Trigger just trying to get, you know, something going. I don't really hate this kind of stuff from Protoss, because we all know that if nothing happens, Zerg economies grow quicker than Protoss economies. So if you build units, you let them die, but you get drones over and over again. That often works out alright for the Protoss. Oracle number 3 now has made it to the other side of the map. Activates Pulse Beam, grabs the first drone. Gets the second one. Okay. It's 10 in total so far, right? Yep. I mean, 10 drones before minute 6. It's definitely not bad. All 3 Oracles still alive. Sure, we did lose 4 adepts on the side of Trigger, but... Follow-up is Blink, M+1. Sometimes Trigger plays very aggro, where he doesn't even get a Forge. And he just tries to get a Pylon and a Gateway up on the other side of the map and end it with pure Blink Stalker, but... Maybe on a map that he's confident, like Altitude, he's not going to go for that overly aggressive stuff. Which I do enjoy, but... It's just important that this is not a trio, guys. One little probe gets picked off there by Lambo. Lambo needs to make sure he doesn't keep on losing drones, though. It's 4 more drones, and it's definitely way more damage than you often see in a Lambo ZVP. And this could have a lot to do with the fact that even though Altitude is like supposed to be this great Zerg map, especially in ZVT, in ZVP I think the Zergs are not ultra fond of it, but pros don't often get to play this map. It's just kind of a default veto in best of 3s, and even in best of 5s, very often it's going to get vetoed by one side or the other. So maybe that's why Lambo's having a harder time keeping track of the Oracles. Trigger is now making his way to the other side of the map. At this point, Lambo's army is not very impressive. But if +1 melee finishes up and all the queens show up, he should be fine. Trigger is getting pretty deep. Wow. That was the shortest I've ever seen a stasis trap live. Wait, what even happened there? If the Ling activated the stasis trap, shouldn't it have still been alive? So the dead body of the Zergling activated the stasis trap? Is that what just happened there? Alright guys, +1 is going to finish up. Warp Prism is here. We're going to warp in 4 more Stalkers. Lambo has 52 links, but he's going to lose a couple of them very quick. They'll send a single Zergling for it. Maybe now Trigger should blink here, or he should just put these units inside of the Warp Prism. That's exactly what he does. Now he goes for that blink. Wants to fight only half of the Ling army. First few Hydras are on the production tab for Lambo, but it's going to take a little while. A few more Lings have hatched. +1 melee is obviously done. Lambo is looking for a tiny counter. We don't want to lose his shield battery, that's for sure. Trigger now forced to pay attention to stuff at home and this army on the other side of the map at the same time. Cannon and Zealots took care of it. Went for a forward blink. This is definitely where the Oracles need to show up, otherwise the Lings will have way too much impact. One of the Oracles does get gunned down, but most of the Lings have disappeared, and the few Hydras that are going to spawn one by one should not be good enough. Trigger with a decisive blink forward on top of the Queens, on top of the Hydras. After getting all that economic damage early on, guys, is going to close things out in a pretty decisive manner here, guys. 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And you know how in MMA they often talk about mythical fighters. Trigger on the NA server, guys, is honestly a bit of a mythical player. Because we often judge him on his performances by when he plays against top tier Europeans on the European server. And sure, he's got good ping, but it's obviously not fair when it's 0 ping against 70. You can see Trigger get some really good results when he has the ping advantage for once. Or for instance, when he spent 1 week at my place and he plays a little bit of Europe ladder with 0 ping. He went from 6,400 MMR to 6,700 MMR within like 3 days. Within 3 days, he got 300 extra MMR, which I think really goes to show how much that 70 or 80 ping matters. He's our Chell son. Well, we are going to go back to Europe for Game 3, but even no matter what happens here, we do get to see the mythical fighter of NA Trigger once more in Game 4. Now, Trigger, I think his personality is quite the opposite of Chell Sonnen. I think the most cocky thing I've ever heard Trigger say is, yeah, who else would win from that position? About his own game versus Beyond to SKillous. I was like, oh, Trigger, did I get some confidence there? Yeah. Lambo's asking me if I'm ready. He said I'm assuming, always ready, but not entirely confident. Lambo's so chill on the Friday night, guys. There is a night and day difference between Monday night Lambo and Friday night Lambo. I feel like Lambo, when he gets ready for the weekend, spends some time with Louvre and the puppies. He meets up with some of the dudes in I won't say Bulgaria, but Bavaria. You know, cheeky beer, smoking and drinking his way through the weekend. Lambo, Friday night, super chill. Lambo forced to play the Monday night weekly. A whole different beast.
Round 3. Fight.
It's a Harstem's birthday, yes. Today is officially Harstem's birthday. Not Lambo's, but it is Harstem's birthday. Bottom right side, guys. Dragon Skills, we're back in Europe. Main event of the evening. Basilisk Big Brain Bouts and number 35. Exclamation mark Basilisk in the chat. If you guys want to show some love to Basilisk, I would really appreciate it. This is Shopify Rebellion's Lambo. And he's duking it out with this man. In the top left side, it's our Canadian Protoss player representing Basilisk, tying things up after winning pretty convincingly on altitude. Basilisk Trigger. Already happy days for the man from Basilisk after he qualified for the Masters Coliseum tournament. That's a big online tournament that's happening sometime next month, but honestly, I'm not going to talk too much about that because we've got Gamers 8 coming up, and then we have the WTL Codex playoffs coming up. Too much StarCraft. We'll worry about Masters Coliseum by the time it happens. But I do think there's a qualifier tomorrow that I will cast for you guys. Trigger is good and he swears like a pirate on his own channel. I thought it was a sailor. Since when is it a pirate? Swearing like a pirate? Is that a thing? I am familiar with swearing like a sailor, but I've never heard the pirate version. But if you say that's what it is, mate, I'll thank you for it. I have seen Trigger on his own stream, and he's definitely he's a feisty one when he's playing on his own channel. But I have spent way more time with Trigger away from his own stream. And then he's just a very sweet boy. Rextor, the #1 T-Swifty fan in the world. Every single day, guys, if I open Instagram, I'm going through stories, only see a post about Taylor Swift and all her songs. I'm like, who the hell do I focus that's this obsessed with Taylor Swift? And it's my man Rextor, one of the Swifties. Trigger stream is awesome, same with Lambo. Yeah, I think both of them have a good stream. There's honestly a lot of choices out there in this day and age. When it comes to StarCraft 2 streams, in the early days, you guys had to get lucky to catch like an Idra stream or DeMusliM or whoever was big, select, pulled. But I think these days there's pretty much always an awesome streamer online. Rexy is all in on Swift. I prefer my Drake over T-Swift. I'm sorry, Rexy. Couple songs are alright, but people are obsessed with Taylor Swift. He's so popular. Adept Shade gets cancelled, but the Adept still wants to take a little look into this base. Lambo should not lose a drone here. Honestly, he waited a long time to morph that into a Spore. Saves both of them in the end. Good saves there. I think my music is a little bit louder on Europe than it is on NA. StarCraft 2 music, that is. Ooh, the Adept gets caught actually in the center of the map. That's more links, I feel like, than Lambo had in the other games. Lost 2 links, still has 8 out there. Maybe Lambo felt that Trigger plays a pretty dangerous game early on, and that if he just makes 1 or 2 extra sets of Zerg links, that he would be able to get a cancel on a Python, or maybe even get a cancel on a Nexus. Of course, not a big investment, but it's just a little more than he had in the other games. 1 queen is sleeping on the job, and that means that this Oracle feels there's an opening. Grabs 2 drones, not bad. And maybe grab the creep tumor here, I wouldn't hate that. Just activate Pulse of Beam Plup. I think that would have been solid, but... Twilight Council Robo. Ooh, okay. Charge. That is actually what Trigger researched first as well in the Neo Humanity game. It didn't really come into play, right? Because Trigger didn't really do anything crazy aggressive with it. He just kind of did everything at once. War Prism, Disruptors, Dark Shrine. But he did go charge first in that game too. Game 2, that's a lot of gateways this time around though. The 2 oracles are going to take a little look into the natural. This is where Trigger really needs to be careful. We don't want to lose any oracles. Especially not if he's got something cheeky up his sleeve. This kind of reminds me of the game that ShoWTime played against Lambo on this map in the finals play day of the WTL. Trigger is very committed, guys. Lambo lost on Dragon Skills against ShoWTime, where ShoWTime went for some sort of a Zealot Archon Oracle attack of a relatively weak economy. And Lambo let me know afterwards. I couldn't see that because I was not the observer in that game. I was only watching a clean feed. That he said he knew exactly what was happening and it was going to be an easy win, but he had a hotkey issue. And he accidentally hotkeyed his roaches with his baning, so some of his roaches were over here in the top right side, while ShoWTime was all-inning him over here in the bottom left side. I am honestly a bit concerned here for Trigger. It's going to be a lot of Zealots, but the roaches are so good, man. I don't know. I don't really believe in these kind of builds, but let's see. Lambo has a couple queens, has a couple roaches. Queens are going to gun down an Oracle immediately. The 2 adepts are going to let their shade finish up just to shade into the back of the army. A lot of queens will fall, but it's not just queens that Trigger needs to kill. He needs to kill a whole lot more. He needs to get on top of drones, on top of production, and needs to pick off roaches one by one. I don't think it's good enough. I really do not think it's good enough, but obviously Trigger is not done yet. Wants a bit more, but like this spine is a problem. It's a really big problem. He just bought a lot of time for all these roaches to just do that thing. And even though this all hit pretty quick and early, and I don't think Lambo really knew that this was happening, it's a pretty easy and convincing hold in the end. Queens and roaches are pretty good, and Trigger knows it. That was nowhere near enough damage. He's only on 38 probes. It was not a Zealot Archon all-in, it was a 8-gate Zealot all-in that tried to catch Lambo off guard. Lambo was ready. Wasn't totally ready, but was kind of ready. And kind of ready turned into I'm totally ready in the end. So Lambo takes the 2-1 lead after a failed all-in of Trigger. Now we go back to the American server. And can we see the mythical fighter and a server Trigger one more time? Thank you, Dime Dropping, for the 14 months. I appreciate it. Coco build didn't work. I didn't know there was a certified Coco build that included 3 Nexi, but if you tell me it's Coco's build, I believe it, Jesu. That was like a minute late, She's. No, that's absolutely not true. That build was definitely not a minute late. Of course, you can do an 8-gate Zealot all-in of 2 bases a whole lot quicker. But if you do it of 2 bases, it's super freaking easy for Lambo to figure out that it's a 2-base all-in. And then he's going to build roaches a lot earlier of a weaker economy. But then it's still 3 base against 2 base. And it's never going to work. For these kind of all-ins to work in this day and age of StarCraft 2, you really need to sell it as, hey, don't worry, it's a 3-base setup. It's a macro game. If I were you, I'd build a lot of drones. And that's when an all-in can work. But you cannot just chill on 2 bases and sit on 8 gateways and be like, well, I hope my opponent is not ready for the 5-minute 2-base all-in. Because, of course, you know, at this level, they are supposed to have a Nexus. So, no. That is not true what you said. You need to delay your own all-ins by at least selling it a whole lot more convincingly. Otherwise, it's never going to work. But it's okay. That was Europe. Now we are on NA.
Round 4. Fight.
Bottom left side of Royal Blood. The main base of the man who's taking a 2-1 lead in the main event. Lost a couple weeks ago against Spirit. Obviously wants to get a W tonight. Shopify, Rebellions, Lambo. Top right side though. That's it, guys. Right here. I don't know. It's very tiny, but I think you guys can see it. It's mythical. It says United States. And that's when this man peaks. Hailing from Canada, but this is his home server. It's Basilisk Trigger. Down 1-2. Can we send it to the rubber match? Anything before the 20-minute mark is a rush to me. No, that's not quite how it works. Like, obviously, at lower leagues, you can do very different builds and with different amounts of success. Like, if you play against a Diamond League Zerg, you don't need to take a very early third base that you then don't use if you want to all-in. Because they don't really analyze games the same way as a Lambo is analyzing a high-level CVP. So, different things can work at different levels, but obviously what is effective on lower leagues does not really apply to these guys. Well, what works for these guys doesn't always translate very well to the lower leagues, but more often than not, it should. Back when TLO was casting, I saw that Dr. Dario is still top 10 on the NA server at the moment, guys. He's making me feel bad. I'm like, top 30 on Europe, that's pretty good, right? And then Dr. Dario is like, oh yeah, I've had like 20 minutes to play StarCraft 2 in the last 2 years. Top 10 on NA, by the way, 6k MLR. It's like, alright, Dario, we get it. Show off. What just happened? I was only gone for 5 minutes and 1-1 becomes 2-1. 8 gate Zealot all in. Did not work. 38 probes, 8 gateway Zealot all in. But it got deflected, stopped, denied by Queens and Roaches. The man is a gamer. Absolutely. I like the Phoenix Zealot all-in sometimes, but I like to do it with a Forge. I really believe in +1. Zealots without +1, they just suck against Lynx. So then even if they don't have Roaches, you still get wrecked by Queens and Lynx. So I like to do it with a Forge, but I don't really have the money to sneak in a third Nexus, so against very good players it doesn't really work. We have an Adept shading into the third base. Obviously, Trigger will be looking for more of that game 2 magic. And that's the start, guys. The Adept gets a drone. And every single drone in the first 5-6 minutes does really matter. Does not let that shade finish up. Second Adept is out, but Trigger is not totally sure yet if he wants to send him to the other side of the map or not. Hello, Parabytes. Thank you, matey, for the 35 months. Jeez Louise, guys. We don't have any 2-month resubs, do we? It's like, I don't like, oh, thank you for joining us for the first time. Or it's like, thank you for the 104-month resub. Magical channel in that regard. It's gonna be so sad, guys, when I have to stream on the Saudi Arabian streaming service. That's gonna be announced in like 2 years from here on out. They're gonna, all Hilal is gonna make me an offer. They're like, Roddy, you wanna stream from Saudi Arabia? I'll be like, yeah! Rextor, thank you so much, Rexy, for the 50 subs. You absolute legend. As we have the Oracle of Trigger flying into the natural. There isn't a whole lot to kill here, but what this Oracle can do is able to get a cancel on the Spore. Oh my god, Lambo actually cancels the Spore and immediately morphs the drone into an evolution chamber. Saves the other drone as well. This is the most amount of effort I've ever seen. Now the second Oracle is going to show up. Get it. Oh, come on. Give the man a drone, Lambo. Give the man a drone. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, but
that's fucking illegal.
Lambo was supposed to at least lose 2 drones over there, okay? That is just not... That is into okay, as they would say in Sweden. Thanks again, Rexy. I really appreciate it. When is Basilisk coming out with a hoodie? Is what Buckboo is asking me. Thank you, mate, for the 7 months. Trust me when I say... They know. They know you guys want shirts of Reynor, Serral, and you want some hoodies and whatnot. It's on the agenda, but there are a lot of other things that Basilisk wants to do before they start doing that stuff. But I've let them know many times that you guys are eager and that you guys want to at least have some sort of Basilisk merchandise. I will keep bringing it up. I will keep trying, but it is being worked on, but it's not the top priority at the moment. I'm sorry, Sibo, I didn't see it, but thank you, mate. I still really appreciate it. I'm sorry I missed it. Okay, let me focus for a little bit, guys, because this could be the final game of the evening. We've had a very fun 6-hour and 16-minute stream so far. But obviously, we hope for the Robo match. Look at this, by the way. Look at this. A second Robo at minute 6. So Trigger playing very, very different than he did on Neo Humanity. Come on. This is ridiculous, no? A lot of these drones were absolutely supposed to die, but Lambo is saving each and every single one of them. I think Lambo heard the hype about the mythical fighter that is NA server Trigger. 4 Colossus timing go-goes, what Maple says, that could absolutely be the case. We obviously played Disruptors on Neo Humanity, but with the super quick double Robo, and maybe Lambo playing with a lot of +1 melee links, is 1 Oracle is low on HP. I wouldn't be surprised to see Colossus, and it's indeed the first Colossus on the way immediately. We need pylons. Yeah, guys. Why are we supply block? Maybe we can cancel this Colossus and temporarily build something else. Alright. Pylons have finished up though, so it's okay. Second Colossus in production. Lambo's going up to 5 bases. Hey, Oracle, go, go, go. Drones! These are the only drones we can ever kill. No creep for you, Lambo. Save this. Finally. Trigger gets a couple drones, 2 oracles, sharking around the natural. There is a spore crawl. There's a bunch of queens. It's risky. That's okay. You get away with it. Pretty quick infestation pit, but I feel like the one on Dragon Skills was quicker. Even though this is only minute 7, so it's pretty damn quick as well. +1 is done for the Colossus. First 2 Colossi are out. Third one is on the way. Fourth one is on the way. It's... Lambo's not going to get any Vipers, I think, before the Trigger moves to the other side of the map. So Lambo's going to have to do it the good old-fashioned way with a whole lot of lair tag units. Lynx, Banes, Roaches, Ravages, and Queens. Well, it's going to be pretty difficult, I think. I like this build a lot by Trigger. This was already good in the previous patch, and I think it's a lot better now. Lambo's going for a big counter-attack. I hope that Trigger has the ability to warp in a couple of units. There's only a single shield battery here. And he's going to recall Colossus. I'm a bit worried after seeing all those recalls of Night Phoenix earlier tonight, but... Good thing is, guys, that Lynx cannot quite gun down a Colossus like Marines and Marauders. So Lambo just kind of gives up on the base at the bottom side of the map. Says, I don't really care. I have another 4th base. That's the one at the 9 o'clock, and we'll take it from there. Triple Colossus. It's a pretty terrifying army. And we even have an Observer, guys. And we still have triple Oracle as well. What did Trigger lose so far? He lost nothing, right? A battery, an Observer, and a Gateway. Trigger the kind of guy to lose a Observer before a Probe. I wish I was that kind of guy, but... It's a scary Protoss army, but it's important to keep in mind that we don't have any force fields here. It's actually pretty nice to have this one Colossus here just chilling. Oh my god, the doors are open. Lambo could have just walked into the natural, but he didn't check. So he doesn't know. He assumed that Trigger would have a wall off or have something keeping those Lynx at bay. He's now going to try to surround, but we have stasis traps creating basically a bunch of force fields. This is a very chaotic fight. Super important for Trigger to keep those Robo units alive. Warp Prism has warped in a couple Stalkers. The thing is we don't have a single Immortal, and dealing with a lot of Roaches is hard. Can we save these Colossi with our Warp Prism? A couple Stalkers are stuck inside of it. It seems that Trigger is able to save most of the important units, but he needs to spend his money. He's sitting at 1900 minerals, 800 gas. Hive tech is done. The fact that he only lost Gateway units there is good, but he did lose a lot of Gateway units. Doors are still open, and Lambo is honestly making Trigger's life a whole lot better than it has to be. Does get a cancel on a couple of these cannons. So nice of Lambo to not run into the natural. Guys, isn't this funny? Lambo had the opportunity. Now he's gonna... Oh my god. Lambo's like, I don't care about the natural, I don't care about the main. The 3rd base, baby. That's the one that I want. Oh, Trigger forgot about a Colossus. That's very painful. Can we save it? No, we cannot save it. That's a big mistake. It's such a good job in keeping them alive earlier. Unfortunately, doesn't know now. We have Banelings rolling into the 3rd. Will you ever check the natural, Lambo? No. Lambo will never check the natural. Attacking the main net is till 2022, apparently, guys. I mean, I'll be honest, I would also expect Trigger to have a unit in position. Or have something to deal with it, but I do think eventually you should check, right? If you try over and over and over again in the third base that's protected by 5 cannons and a battery, it really wouldn't hurt once in a blue moon to take a look at the natural. Lemon says, nope, I ain't about that natural life. We're looking for feedbacks here. The High Templar got close to landing a feedback. Doesn't quite get it. Lambo has way more workers. So the army supply down the line can favor Trigger, but we're not there yet. Batteries and cannons not quite done yet. One abductor goes down. That is a lot of Zerg, guys. It feels like it's an overwhelming amount of Zerg right before the cannon and the battery is up. And it seems that the mythical fighter, that is NA server Trigger, will taste at least some defeat here. I'm gonna try to micro our heart out with a couple of Colossus and a War Prison. If he wipes out all of this, maybe we still have like a tiny chance. But losing the Nexus is painful, but we don't lose the Nexus. He did lose 19 probes, but he doesn't lose the Nexus. And he saves 2 Colossus, but it's 45 probes against 81 drones. More Banelings rolling into the third. Lambo still showing a lot of mercy to the natural. This is the funniest thing I've seen in a while. Yeah, Lambo can remax for days on Roaches, Lings, and Ravages. And the way the Trigger has played is just no sentries at all. That is a playstyle. I would really love a few Immortals. Just like a couple Immortals to keep those Roaches at bay. Because 10 range Colossus are amazing, but they're still not that great. Nice blink there to snipe at least one of the Vipers. I don't know how much longer Trigger can do this though. He just doesn't really have a very good economy. He's going to lose the Archons. He's going to lose a few more Stalkers. And those are expensive units. Especially if you're down to 48 probes. Last time around, Spirit got the best of Lambo in the main event, but Lambo is showing us that his EVP is still on point. It's always been clean. It's always been brutal. And I don't think that Trigger... Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Obviously, there's nothing that Trigger can do anymore here. It's a learning moment for the man from Basilisk, who still had a good weekend. He qualified for the Masters Coliseum. We're a couple weeks away from the WTL Protoss playoffs. But in this best of 5, Lambo was still simply a bit too strong. Too powerful. Too much experience. And the thing is, you know, it's Coach Lambo at the moment, guys. And Coach Lambo is almost as mythical as NA server Trigger. Lambo getting Reynor ready for Gamers 8. The big tournament that's happening in Saudi Arabia next week. $400,000 is what the StarCraft 2 Pro gamers will be battling for. And Lambo is the official coach of Reynor. And obviously, if you're a coach, you need to be in some sort of shape, right? And Lambo is showing us that he's still got it, baby. Trigger has been impressive lately. But Lambo is showing us that when push comes to shove, he's still the man in ZVP. And I think overall, good showing by Lambo. Just strong performance overall. GG's. Fun series, I think. Overall, very fun night of the Big Brain Bouts. Obviously, last week I wasn't here. We did it on Zombie Grub, her channel. Even though I was still the one who did the matchmaking, by the way, last week. But Zombie Grub held down the fort last week. And obviously, massive kudos to her. Big shout out to Zombie Grub for doing that. I think she had a lot of fun. But it's obviously nice for me to be back on my own channel and do it here. I enjoyed it tonight. I think we had a couple of fun games. Started off with Community StarCraft. We ended up with some very high level StarCraft. Lambo says, GG's, thanks for the invite. Mein pleasure, mein Freund. I hope he had fun. Lambo, offline immediately. He's like, it's Friday night, I'm out of here, Roddy. I don't care about your response. But he did let me know that he had fun. Or at least that he was happy with the invite. And that will do it, guys. That is going to do it for StarCraft and the Big Brain Bouts tonight. I will be back tomorrow afternoon with more StarCraft when we have the Masters Coliseum. I will set a prediction for you guys. Otherwise, people have a heart attack. They're like, Ronnie, prediction, give me my points. Here you go, guys. Here you go. Points are settled. Big Brain Bouts number 35 is a wrap. We can go over the results one more time. Started off with a PVT between Jesu and Blood Milan, where especially I think game 1, 2, and 3 were very fun. Jesu in the end managed to win it. Our 5k MMR Terran walking away with $60. This is the entire prize pool. So 60 for the winner, 15 for the loser. The second one is the only 3-0 we had tonight. Spacey Macy, the Danish veteran, is showing us that he still got it. As he 3-0'd Foxer, he gets 80 bucks. Foxer gets 20 buckies. Kalazur took out Night Phoenix in a very fun, wild, and chaotic best of 5. I saw interactions there between the Protoss and Terran units that I don't think I've ever seen before. I saw attacks that really make 0 sense, but it was fun. Kalazur gets 100 bucks. Night Phoenix gets 25 buckies. And we just saw Lambo win the main event of the evening. That means Lambo gets 150 bucks for winning. And Trigger will still get 50 bucks for playing. And that means that the BBB number 35 is a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed it.